All right. It's a little bit different flying solo, gang. We're doing it, though. We're making it happen. Let me double check. Nothing else in the chat there. So let's move on to some PFF grades. That sound good, gang? Yeah, it does. Thanks. Appreciate you responding. So, first things first, the highest graded Packers in week 2 versus the Colts. Okay. Javon Bullard, 78.3. Josh Jacobs, 77.2. Romeo Dobbs, 74.4. Dontavion Wicks, let's go, 73.9. Love to see that bounce back game. And look at Jair Alexander, gang, 70.7. That's a minimum of 25 snaps. Eric Wilson was actually the highest graded player, if I remember correctly. However, he didn't meet that 25 snap minimum. I love that they throw that in there on some of these tweets. So, again, Javon Bullard, guys, when was the last time we had a rookie DB grading out in the 70s, upper 70s like that? Think about it. I don't even know if Ja did his rookie year. His rookie year, Jair, I want to say he finished the season in the 60s, I believe. And the next year he took a huge jump because we were really excited about Eric Stokes because his rookie year he finished in the 60s, right? So the fact that Javon Bullard grading out 78.3, absolutely huge. Josh Jacobs getting back on track. Romeo Dobbs having a great game. Dontavion Wicks getting back on track. And again, Ja, that's what we're looking for. Just here's the thing. Like, I don't want to dog on Ja too much because he played much better in this game than he did the Eagles. Granted, he wouldn't have to cover A.J. Brown, but he played much better in this game. The problem with Jair is he's very good, right? You know, we always say you overpay for great, you never overpay for good. I personally, and I'm not saying I'm right and anyone else is wrong, I personally believe that Jair hasn't been great for a couple of years now. That's just me. I think he's been very good. And yesterday he was very good. So you're kind of in between that good and great, right? So if he continues to play like that and just steadily in the 70s, and you're not seeing him get burnt and those, passer rating when targeted are through the roof, which we hit on those. We'll hit on that later in the week too, because I want to get kind of an updated number on those. We're going to track them all year long, some of the key statistics, so we can cross-check, cross-reference with PFF, plus us watching the tape with Chalk Talk. We can kind of get an idea of how someone's season really went and draw our own conclusion there. So hopefully he keeps that up, So another thing that came down the pike here, this is about Eric Wilson. Wes Hodkowitz, one of my favorite follows on Twitter, at Wes Hod, tweeted out, Eric Wilson played 8 defensive snaps but helped the Packers seal the win by halting Anthony Richardson's 3rd and 1 read option and then picking off the Colts quarterback. Oh, Wilson forced the fumble too. That and much, much more in our Indy versus Green Bay game notes that you can check out over at the Green Bay Packers Twitter page. And I'm sure it's on Packers.com. So make sure you go check that read out. They always do phenomenal work over there, obviously. So, yeah, the fact that he only played 8 snaps, think about this, guys. He played 8 snaps. He stopped Anthony Richardson on a key 3rd and 1 read option. And I remember that play specifically. I don't know if they're talking about the speed option or the read option. They're probably talking about the read option. I'm sure that's correct. Then he picked off the Colts quarterback on that final, I think it was the final drive or the next to final. No, it was the next to last drive where they were kind of going down the field. He stopped that drive. And then he forced the fumble too. How do you do all of that in only 8 snaps? Think about that. We're sitting here talking about Cooper. We're talking about potentially Hopper and Quay, Maybe Eric Wilson is the dude we need to get some more snaps to, right? It just seems like we got some pretty decent depth. It really does, man. So I'm excited to see what Eric Wilson does moving forward. And the dude is just an absolute animal when it comes to staying in shape and all that stuff. He's going to be available all year. He takes care of his body. He takes it serious. So that's something I think that's very, very important there. So, all right, let's move on to PFF grades. I'm going to go ahead and kill my cam real quick. That way we can zoom this in full screen too. And that I don't know, you may be able to hit that right there. Let's go full screen just in case. So make sure I'm not muted here. I apologize for that when we kicked off. We'll have to do some editing on the podcast. You guys will never know what happened. You're saying, Clayton, we do now. You're right. Okay, so let's look at the overall PFF grades through 2 weeks now, okay? And unfortunately, we're going to have to sort it by least first, okay? Green Bay currently is sitting as the 9th lowest graded team in the NFL. Think about that. According to PFF overall, they're saying, man, you guys, we're not saying your team is this bad, but you performed at this level. That's what PFF grades are. It's not saying, hey, your team is bad. It's saying this is how you've played in these games. And it's always important to add that context in there too. And listen, PFF isn't everything, right? We say that over and over. I'm going to continue to say it over and over and over. They have flaws just like every other analytics community and every other website does too. The goal is to try to navigate around those flaws and get the best information we can. But overall, they're a 64.8 right now. Offensively, they're a 71.2. That makes them the 10th highest graded offense in the NFL right now. Passing wise, they're currently at a 65.4. Okay. That puts them in the 17th spot as far as passing offense. Pass blocking, however, Green Bay has an 80.5. So they're the third highest graded pass blocking team in the NFL. No surprise there. They just continue to do well in pass blocking and how they build their offensive line. Receiving grade, they're 11th at a 68.0. Not bad. Borderline top 10, right? Running grade. So this is on the running plays here. How well do they grade out running wise? They're 12th at a 74.7. So not too bad. As you can see, nothing is in the orange. You have a dark yellow as an overall grade as a team, but offensively, they've been pretty damn good. Again, offensively, 71.2, passing 65.4, pass blocking 80.5, receiving 68.0, running grade 74.7, run blocking 62.3. That 62.3 puts them in the number 22 spot run blocking wise. It's just the same old story every year. The Packers find a way to win, obviously, but their pass blocking is right there at the top of the list, and the run blocking is a little closer to the bottom. And I think a lot of it has to do with the emphasis they put on some of the RPO matchups and some of these zone run schemes that I think PFF kind of struggles to grade exactly what they're supposed to do. And that's a very ignorant statement because I don't have any facts to back that up. It's just that the way the Packers choose to run the ball, it does make me wonder because the running backs always have a high yards per carry. Aaron Jones always had a high yards per carry. However, when you see him, he's cutting all over the field away from the gap he was supposed to be in. So maybe it is true that the run blocking isn't that great. Let's move on to the defensive side of the ball. Defensively, they're a 56.1 according to PFF. That's fifth from the bottom of the list, okay? So not that good, bub. What's the worst? One of the worst aspects has been the run defense at a 49.0. Again, this is how they've played against the run. Tackling grade, 13th in the league, 60.5. That feels like it might be a little better than last year. I could be wrong. I don't feel like we were ever close to the top 10 in tackle grade, so maybe they're putting some emphasis there. Pass rush grade, 6th worst in the league at 55.3. Coverage grade is 19th in the league at a 64.4. And then special teams, the Packers are 6th from the bottom at a 56.9. So again, on defense, PFF is saying you perform like a bottom 5 defense. We held the Colts to 10 points yesterday. It still didn't grade out well. And how is that? I guarantee it's the takeaways. We had 3 takeaways, 2 if you remove the Evan Williams on the Hail Mary at the end. Now, here's the interesting stat. If I heard correctly today, the Packers actually did not score off of any of those turnovers. That's a problem. That's a big problem, right? So it's important to make sure you're getting points, right, as you're getting those turnovers, or else, I mean, yeah, you're stopping their drive, and that is important. You'd rather have that than not have the turnover, don't get me wrong. But you got to start turning them into points, right? It's very, very crucial, no doubt about it. So, again, that's where you sit as far as the rankings as a team. Now, let's jump in to the first 2 weeks of the season. Week 1, overall, we graded out as a 60.3. Let me get that a little closer for y'all. Hopefully that's a little bit better. Let's leave it right there. Okay. So week 1 against the Eagles, they were a 60.3. Week 2, they improved to a 68.0 overall PFF grade. So you're seeing some improvement there as a team. Offensively, they're pretty much right where they were week 1 with the Eagles game, 69.4. This week against the Colts, 70.0. Passing grade. This is really interesting. Jordan Love versus the Eagles, their passing grade as a team was 60.7. Yesterday with Malik Willis, their passing grade as a team, 72.3. So 12 points higher. Now, I'm not trying to create a quarterback controversy. Please don't take that the wrong way. But it is worth mentioning that, listen, when Love gets back, probably going to see the passing game continue to get better week by week, as long as he's not too rusty coming back off the bench from that injury. And that's kind of what we seen last year. You're starting to see a trend, right? Last year, you've seen the team get better at passing as the year went on. So definitely worth mentioning there. Pass blocking against the Eagles, 87.7. I'm sorry, 77.7. Pass blocking against the Colts, 80.9. So you're seeing a little increase there. Receiving grade against the Eagles, 63.9. Against the Colts, 71.2. Got better there. Running grade, 73.2 against the Eagles, 70.8 against the Colts. Dropped a few points, but right there in the same ballpark, right? Run blocking against the Eagles, 70.8 PFF grade in run blocking as a team. Against the Colts, 56.9. So it tells me they probably did struggle with some of those run stunts up front, but definitely got a lot worse. Got to get better before you play Tennessee. That's one of the best defenses in the league early on this season is Tennessee. So let's see. Defensively, week 1, 50.7. Week 2, 64.0. So we got better there. Run defense grade. Week 1, 52.5. Week 2 against the Colts, 48.6. So you got worse there. Tackle grade against the Eagles, 62.9. Against the Colts, 57.1. Got worse in the tackle column. Pass rush, 61.5 against the Eagles, 50.2 against the Colts. Got significantly worse there. Again, you've got two different types of rushers there in Jalen Hurts and Anthony Richardson. It sounds to me like they picked up where they left off last year, trying to not over pursue the quarterback. Everybody hates it. Everybody hates when you rush the quarterback conservatively. And I'm not talking about not blitzing. I'm talking about with the four-man rush, the way you rush the quarterback to keep him in the pocket. Everybody hates it until you go – I about said something bad – until you pin your ears back and go after the quarterback and somebody like a no-name like Tommy DeVito runs all over you. Then all of a sudden it's fire everyone, right? So you got to take the good with the bad there. That's one of the reasons why the pass rush hasn't hit home too much. To the best of my knowledge, week 1, Gary got a sack. Week 2, Devontae Wyatt got a sack. Now, here's what's cool. Look at the coverage grade. Against the Eagles, 49.8. Against the Colts, 77.1. Significant increase. Want to see that number continue to go up, obviously, right? Special teams, week 1 against the Eagles, 52.6. And then week 2 against the Colts, 64.1. So got significantly better on special teams. Now, let's go to the game report as far as the Colts game goes here. And I'm going to try to keep it zoomed in as much as I can here. Leading the way for the Green Bay Packers on offense, highest graded player, Josh Jacobs, 77.2. Okay, running grade was 76.1. Passing game grade was a 53.3. Run blocking obviously doesn't really matter at a 56.7. So overall offensive grade, 77.2 with a run grade of 76.1. Second was Romeo Doubs, 74.5. His passing game grade was a 79.7. Run blocking took a hit at 42.5. If you were to remove that run blocking grade, he's probably grading out somewhere in a 77, 78 range, I would imagine. Number 3, Dontavion Wicks, 73.9. He got a 75 in the passing game, and run blocking 58.6. All right, so significantly better than Romeo Doubs' blocking grade. Got to work on that, though. It's so important to block as a receiver because we know, as Coach LaFleur likes to say,
no block, no rock.
That's right, Coach. Appreciate you dropping in there. You can go back to game planning for the Titans now, sir. Elton Jenkins at number 4, 70.2 pass block grade, 85.3. 85.3 pass blocking grade for Elton Jenkins. I think I read a statistic, came across the wire earlier today. No sacks given up so far in the first 2 games. I think maybe not even a pressure. That might have been it. I was going, okay, Elton, we're back to regular form. Run blocking grade, 65.2. You're willing to sacrifice that. Pass blocking is way more important than run blocking, no doubt about it. As long as that doesn't get in the 40s and the 30s, that's when you're like, okay, you're really hindering the offense when you get there. Malik Willis, number 5, 69.6, guys. Passing grade, 72.3. I'm so excited for that dude, man. Oh, it's awesome. Number 6, Tucker Kraft, 65.9. In the passing game, a 75.9. Run blocking was only a 53.8, although I've seen people that I respect a lot praising his run blocking ability earlier today. So maybe that's a little bit better than what PFF gives him credit for, right? Rasheed Walker, 65.5. Look at his pass blocking grade, gang. 87.9. He had a better pass blocking grade than Elton Jenkins. That's wild. Run blocking significantly less than Elton at a 56.8. And keep in mind, this penalty right here, guys, that really, really hurts your PFF grade. Okay. So if he didn't have that penalty, I bet Rasheed probably would have graded out in the 70s, would have been my guess. Here's a nice one. Number 8, Sean Ryan, 64.3. Horrible pass blocking grade, 35.6. There's no getting around it, right? That's just unacceptable. Run blocking, 65.9. Again, that's where he seemed like he shined to me. A little bit better run blocker, significantly better run blocking than pass blocking. Look at Josh Myers, gang, 62.5. Threw up on the ball a couple times today, 80.9 pass blocking grade. Once again, the run blocking grade, 59.5, not good. And he had 2 penalties on him as well. So his grade probably would have been close to the 70s if it hadn't been for the 2 penalties. Number 10, Jaden Reed at a 61.0. Now let's just kind of drop down and look at some of the worst ones here. Jordan Morgan, only 20 snaps. Maybe that shoulder was bothering him early too. I'm not trying to give an excuse, but the fact that he left the game with a shoulder injury, maybe he just couldn't handle it. Might be time to throw him on IR for at least 4 weeks and try to get that straightened out with the shoulder. But 48.5 was his grade. Bo Melton, 52.6. Marshawn Lloyd, only 10 snaps, hurt his ankle, 53.3. Zach Tom had a bad day. 70 snaps, 55.8. And this is according to PFF. Take it as you wish. 68.3 pass blocking, not horrible. 56.4 run blocking. Of course, he had, I think it was a false start he had or a legal procedure or something, if I remember correctly. Christian Watson, not off to a great start, 56.3. Ben Sims, 56.9. Luke Musgrave, 31 snaps. His snaps increased significantly and was sitting at a 56.9 there. Okay. Emmanuel Wilson, 59. Jaden Reed, 61. We already hit on. So those are your offensive grades. Again, to recap, Josh Jacobs, Romeo Dobbs, Ontavion Wicks, Elton Jenkins, Malik Willis, Tucker Kraft, Rasheed Walker. Some of the names that really helped you out, according to PFF, when it comes to winning there against the Colts. So let's go ahead and back up now and move over to the defensive side of the ball real quick. And look at here, boys. Only 8 snaps, but my goodness. 99.4 PFF grade for Eric Wilson. Let me write this down real quick. Y'all excuse me for just a second. I apologize. 99.4 PFF grade for Eric Wilson. Again, interception, tackle for a loss, and a forced fumble. That's what that'll get you on 8 snaps. Only 8 snaps. We got to mention it. Tackle grade was a 29.2. That's wild to think about. He got a great coverage grade, obviously. If you watch that play back, and we will on Chalk Talk, it was a phenomenal technique covering. It was almost like a skinny post is what I remember it being like. Kind of like he was trying to get vert and thought, I can beat this linebacker. Eric Wilson ran stride for stride with him, made a great diving hands catch. Ball definitely didn't hit the ground. I mean, it was just, hell of a catch. Probably the best catch of the day. But again, Eric Wilson, 99.4 is just wild. I'm most excited about Javon Bullard's PFF grade, 78.3. And again, tackle grade, 85. Coverage grade, 73.3. Run defense with a run fit, 66.2. Let's go. Jair Alexander, 70.7. Tackle grade, 75.1. Seen him throw his shoulder a couple times. Coverage grade, 69.5. Run defense grade of 69.4 overall. Jair, bounce back game. That's great. Again, 70.7, not worth all that money, but he's trending in the right direction. Let's get that old job back as quick as we possibly can. Eric Stokes, 69.1. It was so weird. 24 snaps, and Carrington Valentine got 32 snaps. You replaced him. Guys, does anybody know, real quick, I'm looking at the chat right at this very second. Does anyone know what happened to Eric Stokes? I haven't seen anything on an injury. Do we know what happened to Eric Stokes? Did they just replace him with Carrington because they didn't like how he was playing? I won't wait on the comment. I'm going to try to keep an eye on the comment if you guys can post that in there. If anybody's heard anything, I'll try to keep my eye to the chat. Carrington Valentine, 65.9. According to PFF, he graded out a little bit worse than Eric Stokes. John Johnson said, I'm clueless. I'm assuming that's what he's talking about. Maybe not. But Preston Smith, 65.3. Only 28 snaps for Preston. There you go. Okay, appreciate your Respect Orange. Just throw it up real quick. Respect Orange says Matt LaFleur interview. He just wanted Valentine to get some snaps. So there you go, man. All right. Omer says the same thing. I heard they just wanted a rotation. I asked the same question. That's the response I got from a few. All right, cool. Now they split the snaps, says iRock. Appreciate you, buddy. All right, good deal. Coach Lynn says, wanted to get Valentine more reps. All right, there we go. We know, right? And, they played pretty similarly, right? 65.9, 69.1, according to PFF. Very similar in the details, too. Carrington Valentine had a slightly higher tackle grade and run fit grade, but coverage-wise, he was slightly worse than Eric Stokes. But that's manageable, man, in the 60s like that, especially the upper 60s. Preston Smith, again, only 28 snaps there, 65.3 for his grade. Isaiah McDuffie, 64.4 on 50 snaps. Xavier McKinney, 62.8. I'm not sure. Maybe he had a penalty or something. That's kind of odd because I felt like he had a decent game. See if I can scroll over and find the penalty column. But they even have it on here. I may be overlooking. I don't want to waste too much dead air trying to find it, but wanted to see if there was some kind of – no, not seeing any penalties lined up there. So, yeah, not really sure what happened with Xavier McKinney. Obviously, he had the interception, made a couple good tackles. Still had a tackle for a loss, but they got him at a 62.8. Carl Brooks, 62.7. Devontae Wyatt, 59.1. He had a sack, too. Maybe he had a penalty involved, too. I'm just not seeing the penalty column here. Evan Williams, 57.5. Edgerrin Cooper, only 7 snaps is what they've got him at, 57.1. They may have missed a snap there. Keyshawn Nixon drops to a 52.9. TJ Slayton, only 19 snaps, 49.2. Let's see. Kenny Clark, 48.6. Kenny's kind of a hot button topic. What we said all year last year, gang, well, it's just because he's playing in this 34 jam. He's 2-gapping. Finally get to see him 1 gap. We're only 2 games in, right? But not really setting the world on fire. And listen, I understand there's going to be people that, and I agree to a certain extent too. Like PFF, how much stock should you put in PFF? I think it's very valuable, but again, it doesn't mean it's 100% accurate. Everything else is wrong. But my big thing with Kenny is like, look at the other big name D tackles across the league. And maybe you may seem like you may think it's unfair to judge him that way, but guys, he's been one of the highest paid defensive tackles for the last several years. Like, you should be getting Quinnen Williams top results, return on that investment, and maybe I'm being too hard. You guys let me know, but you can say, okay, well, I don't trust the PFF grade. Okay, well, where's the sacks? We're talking about, okay, the sack totals the pressures are going to amp up, right? We're in 1 gap now. Tried to tell everybody last year when we were in our nickel defense, we were still in 1 gap. You're only in 2 gap looks out of the 34 front, which came 15, 20% of the snaps. Hopefully he gets it together, man. Lucas Van Ness, only 19 snaps, 47.2. Obviously, he had the huge penalty. I guarantee he got docked big time for that. Nonetheless, it still wouldn't have been a great grade. Rashawn Gary, you guys know I'm the president of the Rashawn Gary fan club, but 45.5, Lord have mercy. Kingsley Enagbare, 43.7. And then Quay Walker, man, that's been the big talking point, 40.1. Here's what's crazy. You look at these grades, right? Your starting mock, 40.1. Your best pass rusher, 45.5. Your first-round pick from last year, 47.2 pass rusher. Your 3-tech, your true 3, top dollar, top of the market when it comes to salary cap hit, defensive tackle Kenny Clark, 48.6. Keyshawn Nixon, your starting slot corner, 52.9. Devontae Wyatt, first-round pick, defensive tackle, 59.1, right? Bad grades, right? We only held them 10 points. Like, we still held them to 10 points. Imagine when these grades do get turned around. You know what I'm saying? Like, maybe I'm being too optimistic, but, man, that would be that's wild to think about how good this defense could be when they're actually playing good ball. And I think it is a testament to Colts played bad football yesterday. I haven't even looked at theirs, and really I don't care. We probably won't even look at them. But let's move on to special teams real quick, because it's very important in my opinion. Remember, Eric Wilson, only 8 snaps on defense, but had the highest PFF grade on our defensive side of the ball. He's the highest graded special teams player, too. 17 snaps. Looked like he had the most snaps on special teams, 65.5. Kingsley Enagbare proving a little worth there, 64.9. Matt Orzik had a good day, 64.2 at long snapper. Evan Williams, 63.0. We've seen him recover the onside kick as well. Tyron Hopper, 62.6, 10 snaps. You're getting some work out of the rook there. Bo Melton, 7 snaps, 62.1. Edgerrin Cooper, 5 snaps, 61.8. Javon Bullard, 12 snaps, 61.7. Zane Anderson, 14 snaps, 61.4. As far as stinking up the joint in special teams, Isaiah McDuffie, 59.2 on 6 snaps. 8 snaps, TJ Slayton, 59.9. Tucker Kraft, 11 snaps, 59.9. So what's crazy about this win is the Packers did not play their best ball game, right? And we still got a win with a backup quarterback leading the way, right? The running game got going. It's just, man, I don't know. It feels like even with the low scores, I'm coming out feeling more like there's so much more out there for the Packers in regards of getting better. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just wild to think about, that we haven't even scratched the surface on what the potential is of this team, and we already stole a win away that we probably shouldn't have got. Keep in mind, and I misquoted this yesterday, and what I meant to say on the post-game show was the fact that you were 3-point underdogs at home, right? Here's the big thing. You're 3-point underdogs at home. Typically, you get 3 points at home, right? So what that tells you is if this game had been played in Indy, we'd have probably been 6, maybe 6.5 point underdogs. And you went and you stole that win. You stole one yesterday. Again, I talked about if Jordan misses those first 4 games, we now go from what I was saying 10 to 13 wins to probably something like 8 to 10 wins, right? It's kind of, you're probably going to drop at least 3, maybe 4, all 4 of those games, right? Obviously Philly, Jordan played in, I kind of had that chalked up as a loss on the prediction. I didn't think it was a game that you couldn't win, but I kind of looked at it like it was probably going to be an L because the Eagles are good. We usually start slow, and it was on neutral site, that type of thing. So, I don't know. I'm just excited to see what the team does moving forward when we do play our best ball. If that makes sense. So I was trying to look through the chat real quick. Want to make sure. Let's see what Chad Inc. says. Clayton, did you see Hafley's NASCAR package yesterday on 3rd and long? Smith, Gary, LVN, Enagbare. I did not see. I noticed Enagbare in the game much more often than I was really expecting. So that's awesome that he went with that set. And what he means by NASCAR, and here's the thing. There's probably someone right now, Chad, going, that's not a NASCAR package. NASCAR package is when all 6 linebackers are pass rushers. Everybody looks at it a little different. The way you describe it, Chad, that to me, that qualifies as NASCAR as well. Because you're saying, let's take the big boys off the field and put all the edge rushers in on the defensive front. Whether it's 4, 5, 6, you're blitzing. It's saying, get the big guys out of there so they don't throw up on the ball either, right? And let's go get after the quarterback with speed. So that's awesome, man. I missed it, Chad. Great pull there, dude. Great grab for sure. Appreciate that. United Bates doing United Bates things. Thank you, buddy. We appreciate you more than you know. He just gifted 20 total access, Packer Fan Total Access memberships to 20 lucky listeners there, viewers. Appreciate you so much there, Bates. Thank you, pal. But, yeah, thank you, Chad. Didn't know that about the NASCAR package, man. That's awesome. Let's wrap it up with a little Bears slander. Y'all good with that? If we could, go ahead and hit that like button for us. Feel free to share the stream. Appreciate y'all hanging out with us. If you like this kind of content, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We go live daily. And tomorrow we'll be doing a Chalk Talk segment for sure. So, Caleb Williams, man, last night, that was me and Ryan were texting late last night, and I was like, man, I got to get up so early. I'm still battling. I'm pretty sure I've had COVID. I've been battling the Rona for the last 2 weeks. I'm still not over it. Hopefully we're getting over it. Today was a pretty weak day, to be honest with you, but it was like 11:20 last night. I was texting Ryan, I need to go to bed, but I can't stop watching this game, man. I love it because Caleb Williams was just absolutely struggling, man. It was so bad. But ML Football tweeted this out. Historically bad. After the Bears drafted Torrey Taylor, Caleb Williams told him he would not punt much for Chicago. You guys remember that big storyline? Love the moxie of Caleb Williams. He's already a leader. He went to the punter and said, hey, man, we're not going to need you much. Glad you're on a team, but we're not going to be punting much at all this year. Well, the Bears have already punted 12 times in 2 games. 12 times the Bears have had to punt after Caleb told his punter, hey, we ain't going to need you this year, bub. This has not worked out for Caleb is what it says. And it was Kevin Fishbane on Twitter said, new Bears punter Torrey Taylor said he got this text from Caleb Williams, quote, hey, You're not going to punt much here. So he texted him is what he did as soon as he was drafted. So I thought that was hilarious. That again, pride cometh before the fall, right? You got literally, you got our boy Malik Willis saying, "Yeah, I don't believe in pride." Essentially, right? No, you got to stay humble, type thing. And then you got Caleb immediately before he played a single snap in the league. What did he do? Immediately text the punter and said, "Hey, you ain't gonna need to punt much at all this year." Check this out. NFL memes put this out on Twitter. This cracked me up. And for those of you on the pod, I'll describe it to you. You guys have seen this clip of Justin Fields over and over and over, right? Where he's literally on the bench and he leans his head back and he looks so depressed, terrified. He's just so frustrated with his situation in Chicago, right? Caleb Williams, they caught him on the bench last night doing the same exact pose, and it says, "Life as quarterback for the Chicago Bears." So I usually don't pile on other fan bases much, but I'm going to tell you something, man. I get it now. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on this pod because when you're talking bad about someone else, you're not learning anything. But week 1, when the Packers lost Jordan Love, I got to experience firsthand the true toxicity of the Chicago Bears fan base. And listen, I know it's not all the fans. I know every Chicago Bear fan isn't like that. I got you. But I'm going to tell you, man, they were ruthless. It was, how does it feel to be in the basement? It was, yeah, look, your quarterback's going to be out for 6 weeks. Ha, 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 ha. All that, right? And this, all I'm going to say is what happened last night in Houston as Caleb Williams threw interception after interception. He cannot read a defense, guys. He can't. You everything that Taylor Lewan said about Malik Willis, no one in the national media has the huevos to step up and say about Caleb Williams, and it cracks me up. One of the reasons, much like the Jets, much like the Giants for a long time, these large market teams, it means this for these networks. If you constantly build hope for these large market teams, your Chicagos, your New Yorks, your New York Jets as well, New York Giants, these big market teams, LA teams, things like that, you're going to keep that viewership coming back. You're building hope for them, right? That's why everybody's like, how do they not see how bad the Bears are? How do they not? They do see it, but it's a money thing. They've got to try to build these up so you get those large fan bases tuning in rather than slander. Why do you think Green Bay catches so much slander? They know they're not going to take a huge hit in that market. Now, the Packers have a huge fan base, but when it comes to some of that media money and everything, I could be wrong. That's the way I see it, though. It might be time to cue up the conspiracy music, but I think that's why they're constantly doing that with the Chicago Bears. The Chicago Bears, going into this year, this is the big talking point on them. Bill Walsh 101 on building an organization in football. Wide receiver is the very last piece you put in place. And when you think of Bill Walsh and his 49ers, and we've talked about this extensively, when you talk about the 49ers under Bill Walsh, you think Jerry Rice, don't you? You think Joe Montana, you think Jerry Rice, then you think maybe Ronnie Lott and all of that, right? What you didn't see behind the scenes was as they were building that franchise up and getting them in a position to be a true dynasty, it was like one of the last pieces they put in place was Jerry Rice. Michael Lombardi was there, right? And he talked about how Bill Walsh, okay, we got I can't remember the great pass rusher's name that they got from Dallas, or no, Dallas ended up getting from them later, Charles Haley. They went and got Charles Haley. He said he watched, and I think some of this is BS, but they said Bill Walsh watched one snap of Charles Haley playing a stack backer, middle linebacker in college, and said, I've seen enough. I want to go get me that guy. And he converted him to a pass rusher. You got your pass rusher in place. Get the hog mollies up front. You got your quarterback in Joe Montana. You got Ronnie Lott, the captain of your defense in the secondary, right? You got all these pieces in place, and then he goes, you know what? Now it's time to go get our receiver. And they go get Jerry Rice. They actually took Jerry Rice and another receiver in the same draft. Or no, they were going to take the other receiver, and he gets taken. If I remember this story correctly, you guys can go look it up on YouTube. It's called like Caught Up in the Draft 1985 or whatever year it was Jerry Rice came out. Phenomenal story. They had two receivers. Jerry Rice was graded higher than the other guy. And they were nervous about taking the other guy because he's going to go well before Jerry Rice. Long story short, they didn't get the other guy. They missed on him. They got Jerry Rice, who was graded lower, and Jerry Rice goes on to be the greatest receiver in the history of the game. Thin threads, man. Thin threads. But again, the point of that was the last piece you put in place is wide receiver. That's just Bill Walsh 101. What did the Bears do? The Bears claimed they had the franchise quarterback in Mitch Trubisky. They didn't. They wasted a ton of money building around him, and it didn't work. They claimed they had the franchise quarterback in Justin Fields. Same thing, trying to put stuff around him and just odds and ends spots, and didn't have him. This year, Caleb Williams. They're doing the same thing with Caleb. What's the first thing they did? They kind of did it for Justin too, but carrying into Caleb. Let's go get him 2 great receivers. Did you see that offensive line last night? Absolute cheeks. It was absolute cheeks. And you guys are going, please stop that loop click. That's a little odd, a little weird. I apologize. I just looked over and seen it. That offensive line is horrible. It doesn't matter how good your quarterback is or how good your receivers are. If you can't even implement simple concepts into your passing game, much less get a running game going because your offensive line is horrible. Now, they started to put everything in place on the defensive line with Sweat. Sweat's a good rusher. It's like, who's their true 3 tech, though? Who is that guy? You don't have him. You guys remember, I think his name was Tommy Harris. Remember the year the Bears went to the Super Bowl and the Colts beat them, Peyton Manning beat them? If I remember correctly, Tommy Harris was their defensive tackle. There's your 3 tech. You've got to build on those tier 1 positions of importance. We talk about them for a reason. And I know some people roll their eyes and they think it's not that important. That's okay. Who's to say I'm right and they're wrong? But edge defender, interior defensive line, those are your top tier positions. You need a 3 tech and a 9 tech, or a 3 tech and a 7 tech if you want to play a little tighter front. You need those guys. That way they both can't be double teamed at all times, right? That's the goal, is to free one of those up in one-on-ones in a consistent manner. When you look at Kansas City, how they're built, they've always had a decent edge rusher, and they've got Chris Jones. With Chris Jones, they got the 2-for-1. He can play on the inside. He can play anywhere. He can play nose. He can play 1 tech, 2 tech, 3 tech, 4 tech, 5 tech, 6 techs. They put him at wide 9, and he's been effective. When you got that guy, you can constantly exploit mismatches against opposing team's offensive line. If you get pressure in the quarterback's lap, pressure, pick, coverage, sack. When you get good pressure on the quarterback, it's going to lead to turnovers. Turnover leads to a better turnover differential. Turnover differential +2 is like 88% success rate in the NFL. You go +3, it's damn near a slam dunk to win the ball game. So that's how you build a roster. On the offensive side, blind side of the quarterback, tier 1, and quarterback. If you don't know with 100% certainty that you've got those 2 spots on offense and you've got that true edge rusher and that true 3 tech on defense, you got to keep focusing on it until you know you've got it. What have the Packers done? They took a swing at Devontae Wyatt. Did they not? They took a swing at LVN. Even though they got Rashawn Gary, they got Preston Smith, and they got Kenny Clark, right? They know that's not a Chris Jones type player. It's not. That's not a Christian Wilkins level player. And people may say, no, I think Kenny's better than Christian Wilkins. That's okay. We can agree to disagree. But Christian Wilkins has had more success than Kenny on an individual basis, right? If you focus on getting those 4 pieces in place and now you move on to tier 2, and in my opinion, tier 2 is real simple. Mock linebacker, post safety, the center of your defense, from the 3 tech to the mock to the post safety. Now you're using the strength of your defense is right in the center of the field, and you're using the boundary as an extra defender. That should be the number 1 goal on defense. On offense, left tackle, quarterback, my opinion, next is center. And then everything else comes after that. That's just my opinion. And people say, well, you got to have a good receiver. Yeah. Get those other pieces in place, then go spend top money for a receiver, right? So when you look at the way the Packers are built, Rasheed Walker, I don't know if he's a top 10 left tackle. I feel comfortable saying he's not a top 5 left tackle, but he might be a top 10 left tackle. That's probably good enough, right? Center, we know. I'm not going to continue to pile on. I don't think any Packer fans believe that Myers. I feel like Myers had a better game this week, but I don't think anybody feels like Josh Myers is that, top 3, top 5 center, right? Give me a top 10 center, a top 10 left tackle, a top 10 quarterback. Your offense is going to be flirting around the top 10 all the time, right? Same thing on defense. If you get me a top 10 edge defender and a top 10 3-tech, your defense is going to be good. And then build it out throughout the rest, with the tier 2 on defense with the mock and the post safety. Notice I didn't say corner. Now, some people would disagree on corner, and we'll wrap up after this. Some people would disagree on corner because the RPO game is so prevalent today, and the best way to disrupt the RPO game is play press. That's why L'Jarius Sneed got so much money in free agency, even though the Chiefs, the reigning Super Bowl champions, said we're not willing to pay that. But he's really good at press coverage. Not as good in zone, right? And you're going to be playing zone the majority of the time. But if you want to truly disrupt the RPO game like what Miami does when Tua's healthy, you want to get in there and really bump and run with those guys to be able to play press man. That's one of the reasons why the value has increased a little bit at corner. And some people believe corner is a tier 1 position of importance now. I'm just not there yet. I'm not. Because, again, L'Jarius Sneed is not a great corner. He's a great press corner, but he's not a great overall corner. The Chiefs went out last year, and they had arguably the best defense in the league, and it is the reason they won the Super Bowl. Not just the game in the Super Bowl itself, but was consistent throughout the season because their defense was so good. How's their defense built? Chris Jones in the middle. They got good linebacker play in the center, right? But mainly that defensive front. That's the main reason they're good and consistently good. So hopefully that makes sense. Man, we got a bunch of people in here. Appreciate y'all hanging out with us. If y'all would hit that like button, feel free to share. We're out of here. That's going to be it. Tomorrow we're going to be doing Chalk Talk. What we'll do is first half of the show, we'll bring you some updates and anything that's going on in and around the Packers and kind of get y'all caught up to speed on any news that may or may not drop. And then the second half of the show, we'll do Chalk Talk where we're breaking down. Let's see here. I've got 8 plays that I felt like were absolutely the most important plays in the game. These are plays that were on scoring drives. I left off some scores because I felt like the plays leading up to it were more important, like a crucial third down. One of the most important plays of the game, in my opinion, was Tucker Kraft, a 17-yard gain on a 3rd and 9 that ended up keeping the drive alive and led to a Green Bay field goal that made the lead 13-0. You understand that going up 13-0 now, if you're still up just 10-0, the Colts are going to be calling that game much different. They're probably going to lean into the run a little bit more and stay with the run a little bit more. But because you converted that 17-yard pass there to Tucker Kraft, it was absolutely huge. It won't make the highlight reel, right? The things that will make the highlight reel will be the Dontavion Wicks touchdown, which it's in our Chalk Talk, the Romeo Doubs Moss catch, which is in our Chalk Talk, but the 39-yarder there. But the Tucker Kraft play was huge. The Devontae Wyatt sack too, man. He got that sack on 2nd and 10, and that was in the third quarter. That really set the tone for the second half too. There was 13:55 left in the third quarter, so that was during the middle 8. He gets a sack on 2nd and 10, forces it to a 3rd and long, leads to turnover on downs. Little things like that is what we're going to hit on Chalk Talk. We got 8 plays keyed up for you. I'm excited about getting into it. So with that being said, give a quick shout out to all the Super Chats. Jay, thank you so much, sir, for the Super Chat. We appreciate you, buddy. Bernie with the Super Chat, thank you. Jay with the 2nd Super Chat, thank you so much, pal. And, of course, United Bates always being a blessing, gifting 20 Packer Fan Total Access memberships to lucky viewers and listeners. Thank you so much, Bates. With that being said, for those of you listening on the pod, thank you for making us a part of your day. As always, let's go out and be the change we want to see in the world. And go Pack Go.